We are, my generation, I can tell you, when I came up a young man, there were three stations on TV you could watch if you had the right kind of antenna, just three. And it went off at 10 o'clock and there was snow on the television. You had to wait till 6 o'clock the next morning to get 30 minutes of news or whatever. And so our activities were limited to sports until the sun went down, or conversating. We really had to talk. There was nothing to text. It didn't exist. I'm seeing that as possibly a great challenge, because when I tell people, ask these questions, like we say on our website, when you're dating somebody, ask these questions. But I'm finding that communicating is a real hard thing, difficult for them to do. So how did you get through? You seem to be a great communicator.
I was going to say, I think I am of like one of the last generations to communicate, because even something we notice now is like COVID changed a lot, especially with the generation that's coming up now. Was a lot of their communication was on the internet.
Yeah.
Through the computer, through DMs and things like that. So sometimes people don't know how to have that interpersonal interaction. So I just really think that it is a part of just practicing, you know. So one thing that we encourage our students to do is like, don't just stay in your room. Like, come out, go to programming, go to some of the games, go to different events on campus, and just interact and mingle, right? So I think it's as simple as, it's a practice behavior, but you have to be, you can't be shy about it. I feel like that's one thing also. Like, you have to just put yourself in position or in environments where people are socializing, where people are engaging and just communicating, and then go from there, right? So a lot of people nowadays have that anxiety. There's a lot of anxiety behind communicating and meeting new people and just simply talking, sitting down and having a conversation with somebody. So it does take breaking the ice and making somebody feel comfortable. But I think once that happens, once somebody feels like, oh, okay, it's not that bad, then you get to continue doing it, and it goes from there.
Awesome. TJ, let's take this last 10 minutes we have and talk about the love language and spend some time on that. I know this is something that probably some of the brothers don't want to talk about because they want to seem hard and we don't need nothing, but you know, let me I won't say these words. I'm gonna hold on to those. But you actually took the love language test, right?
Yes,
okay.
I did.
You want to talk about that, or just?
I can.
Okay.
I'll give my love language score. So out of 5 areas of love language, my top love language was quality time at 37%. Physical touch was at 10%. Receiving gifts was at 13%, and then I was tied at 20% for words of affirmation and acts of service.
Were you surprised that it came out like that?
I am, because physical touch being at 10 was a little crazy for me, but I consider physical touch taking place during quality time. So like me and my lady, if we're in a car, if we're riding, like my hand may be touching your thigh, like that's physical touch to me. If we're just chilling watching Netflix or Hulu, whatever, we're on the couch, maybe your legs are across mine, and I'm just, so like those are my times of physical touch. So my score being that low was a little bit surprising, but no, I do value quality time. And I mean, I think most people do when you have a partner. And then words of affirmation. I feel like I like to affirm my partner, and I like to be affirmed as well. So in those spaces, it does feel good for somebody to say, you know, oh, you're doing good. Like, I like how things are going here. Or just, you know, in general, just encouraging me, whether it has something to do with us or not. Just somebody telling me that I'm doing a good job is reaffirming, and it helps just keep me going. So yeah.
Garrett Chapman is the author of the book 5 Love Languages. We encourage all of our friends and those who are involved or getting involved in a relationship or trying to figure out why mine is not working. Get the book, read it, take the test, and you'll be surprised. What you thought was one thing, because we've been told by social media, told by the entertainment world that you've got to be Tarzan and she must be Jane. And you find out that may not be the case. So I like that, and I'm glad you were able to share that with us about your primary love language. So do you have friends that are getting married and you want to tell them thinking about it?
I do not have any marriages coming up right now, at least none that I know of. But again, some of my friends are married already.
Okay.
So And I'm really not. Now you're making me think if I have any engagements that I need to be buying, getting a suit ready for. But at the end of the day, yeah, I don't have any up and coming marriages. But I think a lot of people should take this test because I'm big on awareness of self. I am. So one thing I did hear about the love language exam is that your love language is based off of what you feel like you didn't get growing up. And it made me think a little bit like, dang, maybe I didn't get a lot of quality time growing up. Maybe I didn't get a lot of words of affirmation and things like that. So it's a very unique thing. But at the end of the day, once I understood that about myself, it's easy to see or easy to feel like I have a quality partner when I am receiving those things, right? So I feel like if anybody listening to this podcast, if they meet me, you could just be affirming me and making me feel good about myself, and we go from there. So,
it's like, get out the bag.
Right. It's like, it's a cheat sheet almost.
Okay.
So when somebody tells you how to treat them, and you feed into that, then I feel like it is that much easier for somebody to fall for you when you're treating them the way that they want to be treated and hopefully deserve to be treated.
Well, one of the things that Dr. Chapman mentions is many times marriages are failing because people are trying to give the love language to their spouse that they like themselves.
Right.
And that's important to know what he or she likes so I can make sure I give that language. Have you heard any issues with that or have any?
No, I feel like that's on point. Again, it's a cheat sheet. If somebody's telling you, I like flowers, you getting them flowers can only increase your chances with that individual, right? Yeah. But not giving them flowers, especially if they've shared that with you, I like flowers, and you're just not going to do that for them, that's a little bit different, right? So I feel like as you are treating somebody the way that they at least ask to be treated, it can only help you. It's only to your benefit,
Yeah. Well, look, we're at a point where we can just move into past experiences and concerns, okay? And by that, I mean, we can talk about people, marriages, and one of the things we found is that most of the time, parent relationships evolve into their children's and generationally. And if it's been negative, we got to find a way to change all of that. So what have you observed in your friends?
I would say, just in my personal life, I feel like I've observed divorce. I've observed divorce, and I'm somebody I really want to avoid that. Okay. So after experiencing that with family members and friends, even it just makes you that much more cautious. And I try to be aware of the red flags, right? Because I feel like a lot of people after their divorce, that's when they start saying, oh, I should have paid attention to this, I should have paid attention to that. And it's hindsight is always 20/20, but at the same time, my thing is I want to pay attention to those red flags early. Okay. I don't want to get into the business of making excuses for people just because I like them or I love them and I'm trying to be with them. I feel like those red flags just turn into bigger red flags as y'all continue to be together if those issues aren't addressed.
Okay. So what you brought back to my mind what we were talking about earlier with the other group, and they were saying there was a red flag, and I thought it was Six Flags.
No, not Six Flags.
It's not dealing with it correctly.
Yeah.
And that's important. So the biggest fear as you're talking, for us personally, my wife and I want it for you as well, is that you have a happy marriage. And for all of our young men to use the community and the resources that you have available in older people and not think that we are so far out of touch. That's why I want to talk with guys young like you so I can understand what's different. And I'm finding there's not much different. As far as what you want out of a marriage, we did as well. But what I am finding that's different is the distractions and the agenda is different than what I had to face. So what is your biggest fear about marriage, getting married?
I would say the loyalty piece. I think it always comes back to that. Not necessarily speaking on infidelity, but just like in the spaces where times get hard, like, are you actually going to, you mentioned ride or die earlier, are you going to ride it out with me, right? And I feel like with social media, there's such an influence to remove yourself when hard times hit, right? There's no resilience, there's no perseverance anymore. And you oftentimes don't hear about the relationship working out. You hear about everybody's hard times and rocky times, and then you hear how it ended, but you don't hear about how they worked it out, how they stuck through it, and how they went to therapy, how they sought counseling, things like that, right? So, and I don't know if that's just me being in social work, but I do value those things, that I don't know it all. So for me, I like to tap into the older generation, and get advice and give me some kind of direction, because again, I don't know it all, right? And hopefully my partner is in that same space as well, where they have people that they can talk to, and then there's people that we can talk to together. But that is my biggest fear, is just being with somebody who up and runs, and I hope I can see those characteristics way before we're talking about marriage.
Yeah.
But I just don't want there to be a situation where, whatever happens, and then the first solution is I want to leave, right? So that's my biggest fear.
As much as you and I have been talking for these last whatever time it has to be, and I know it's about time for us to bring this to a close. When you said that, my mind went back to the kinds of shows we used to see on television, where a couple was arguing about something that was really intense, and then they all of a sudden slap each other, and then they kiss, and then all of a sudden it's over.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, boy, if I slap my wife, I better not go to sleep.
No.
So
you gotta know.
What is that? You're a social worker. You're a man who studies behavior. To me, it's just television entertainment, but what message it sends is what intrigues me and also frightens me.
Right. I think, it's just normalizing negative behavior. Mm-hmm. That's really what it looks like. Like, it's okay to fuss. And some arguing is healthy, but I also believe that you really shouldn't be putting your hands on anybody. Sure. Right. That's one thing I don't think that should be relayed to anybody. And there's a world that we live in where, some women think that, they can put their hands on men, and men just aren't supposed to put their hands back on women. I just believe that nobody should be putting their hands on anybody. But again, it's normalized for women to do it, and then it's normalized for men to just accept that, right? So for any man, I don't think you should put up with that either. You should be removing yourself from that situation. But that message is just sending out is, again, normalizing toxic or negative behaviors, and I don't think that that's good for the generation now or the generation that's coming up behind us.
TJ, it has been great having you on board with us, man. We got to do it again, okay?
Absolutely. Okay, I'm glad to be here.
Okay. And if you were looking for some good information, we have on our website 10 signs of, I think it's 10, maybe 19 signs of a toxic relationship. Look it up, partnersinmarriage.com. Go there, and if you're in that situation, it is not Six Flags, that's a red flag. Okay, and remember, marriage is not a destination, it is a journey of love. Take care.